For lessons 3 and 4, we combined the lessons, so we actually did both of them together. So I'm going to combine the video as well and cover all the topics that we talked about. What I want to do with this one is just review the terminology that we went over, as well as just some sample problems that we did, so you can just kind of get a look as to what we did in the classroom. The first terminology piece that we used, the new vocabulary that we used, was called sequences. And sequences are basically, they're just lists of numbers, as you can see right here, like this one down here, 10, 20, 30, 40, and then blank, and then 60. And what we want to find out is we want to find out what the rule is each time. So each time we move from one number to the next, as we go from left to right, what's happening each time? Are we adding something? Are we subtracting something? And we apply that rule to then solve the problem for this one here, the piece that we are missing. So in this case, if I'm looking at this, I see 10, 20, 30, 40, and I look, well, there's a difference of 10 between 10 and 20, and there's a difference of 10 between 20 and 30, and so on and so forth. And since that is a consistent pattern, I want to apply that to the blank number that's at the end. So if I'm looking at this, I have 10, 20, 30, 40. Well, 40 plus 10 is 50, which works because then 50 plus 10 is 60. So that's the idea that we worked with sequences. We'll do odd numbers, even numbers. They'll count up by 2, down by 2. I believe even on the homework they go up by 7s, down by 7s, things like that. So at home you can really encourage them to try and find what's the pattern between each number. Do they add something each time? Do they take something away? And go from there. That's definitely the best way to approach these problems. You may also just kind of catch yourself counting them in third grade Saxon math. They take lots of time to practice counting by 10s and 20s and 2s and 4s and 7s and things like that. So hopefully for the meantime, in the beginning, these should come back to you pretty quickly as you go, because these are things that we've been talking about for a few years now. The second piece, this is still from lesson 3, is the concept of digits. The piece that a lot of fourth graders stumble on when they get this is that each individual number in a larger number is a digit. So in the number 345, you'll see there's a 3, that's an individual digit, 4 is an individual digit, and 5 is an individual digit, which makes a total of 3 digits. The way that they'll ask problems like this is they may ask you how many digits are in the number. They may also ask you what is the last digit in the number. So you may have to answer 5 or whatever the last digit may be. They may ask what's the middle number, things like that, or middle digit. It just kind of all depends on what they ask. But the big piece that we really talked about was that each individual number is a digit. So in 345, that was 3 digits. Underneath, this one is actually straight from the book, 7001. They ask what is they ask 2 different questions. They say what or how many digits are there? And so if I'm looking at this, I see, well, there's a 7 and a 0 and a 0 and a 1. So that makes a total of 4 digits. And then they also ask you to identify the last digit in the number. So all I need to do is, this is a digit. So is this one and this one and this one. Since the digit 1 comes at the end, I can circle that one or box it or just write 1 in my box, whichever one that makes the most sense to you. That's going to be the easiest way to accomplish those problems. The last concept that we did was actually from lesson 4. It was just introducing place value, just 3-digit numbers, something we're pretty comfortable with, and even in class we breezed right through this because most of the kids felt quite comfortable with it. I'd still like to talk it over with you though. When you deal with place value of 3-digit numbers, you have 3 places to worry about. You have your smallest number, which is your ones place. And that is individual units, individual numbers. So if I had just 3 pencils, I would just say 3 in there in the ones place. I wouldn't put that in tens or hundreds, because as we move on to those are groups of 10. So when you move over to the tens place, like I just said, it's groups of 10. So the way we use that is we had blocks that had 10 stacked on top of each other, and so I would give them maybe 4 of those stacks and say, how many 10s do you have? And they may say 4. And that 4 isn't a 4. Because it's 4 10s, it's actually 40. So this number has now become 43. Because I kept my 3 1s over here, and I just added 4 10s to that. From there, then we started adding some bigger blocks in. There was these blocks that were 10 by 10, so they had 100 individual units on it. So it was called a hundreds block because it has 100 on it. So I would give them a few of those. Let's say I gave them 6 of those, and I would say how many hundreds are in your number. You would say 6 in the hundreds place, and that's 643. The way that they'll start using this is they'll start saying which number is bigger in a few lessons. And the best way to start with that is to look at your hundreds place and see, hey, if there's 600s versus 400s, definitely your 600s are going to be larger. But we'll have a whole lesson on that later. For right now, what you need to know is how to write numbers based on how many hundreds, how many tens, and how many ones.